Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your stubborn host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. Why am I stubborn? Because you can tell me a million times and I still will not slow down. So today we're going to talk about Easy Does It. And this was the topic of my meeting this morning. And coincidentally, it was the topic of my psychiatrist appointment today. So I thought all signs are pointing to Easy Does It, Rachel. So let's talk about it. Let's see if I can get it through my thick skull that I need to slow down. I mentioned that yesterday was a very difficult day. And so today I was very reflective on why it was a terrible day. What are some things that I can change so that I don't experience that kind of discomfort and honestly some emotional discomfort as well, from being in my vestibular therapist and breaking down crying because of the exercise that she gave me because I was afraid it was going to hurt and I didn't want to do it, which I explained to you guys yesterday. So let's talk about it. So Easy Does It is a principle that is a cornerstone of sobriety. And it's also incredibly relevant to my personal journey of stroke and vestibular therapy. I just can't seem to do it. So in the context of my sobriety program, Easy Does It is a gentle reminder to take things one step at a time, one day at a time, one thing at a time. When we encounter something that may be stressful, we pause, we put it in our God box. We have the tools in our toolbox in order to slow down and do the next right thing. Easing into recovery is also in this light. It's that recovery is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And for those people in sobriety or recovering from a health challenge, the urge to rush through the steps for sobriety, rush through exercises for vestibular, which is what I dealt with yesterday, or try to force progress can be really strong, because for me, it's like I just want things to get better faster. So if I do everything faster, things will get better faster. And that is not true in most cases that I have encountered. So this principle, Easy Does It, encourages us to be patient and take small, manageable steps. So today I want to focus on applying Easy Does It to physical recovery. This mantra was the theme, like I said, in this morning's meeting. And we talked a lot about starting, the steps are in order for a reason, starting with step one, taking the time that we need to really make sure, like step one is the one we have to do perfectly to recognize that our life is unmanageable. And then as we proceed through the steps, it's not a race. We have to spend the time, talk to our sponsor, go to meetings, and really process each step one at a time. It's not a race to get to step 12 before month 6. We are intending to stay sober for the rest of our lives. So that doesn't mean you should take the rest of your life to get through the steps. I took more than a year to get through the steps, and that worked for me. Some people get through the steps within just a few months and then start them over again. Whatever works for you. But it's really just not a race. And for me, the slower I went through the steps, with regard to being respectful of not stalling, but spending time and actively working on the step and just doing it at a slower pace allowed me to feel like I was really building a foundation for my sobriety. So if I apply this idea to my stroke and vestibular therapy, then that means, and it's so clear to me, how slowly this vestibular therapy thing needs to go. Because if I don't take it slow, I end up just not being able to function. And it's just like in sobriety, if I don't take it slow, if I decide I'm going to run out and make my amends to everybody before I've actually even took time to reflect on what my role is in my relationships and stuff, I'm going to end up not being able to function in my relationships. I'm just going to destroy relationships. Just like if I race through vestibular therapy, I'm going to destroy the progress that I have made. So after my stroke and dealing with my vestibular issues, I've had to relearn how to process the world around me. As a person who has always loved to absorb nature through vigorous activities like hiking and kayaking and running, adapting to this more subdued pace has been frustrating, to say the least, for me. I feel like I would be able to adapt a little more smoothly if I could at least walk outside, but I can't do that for more than a block. So yesterday, I pushed myself too far, and I talked to my psychiatrist about it today. I talked to my husband about it today. It's just like those of you who are in sobriety, when we have thoughts of drinking, if we're romancing the drink, we have to tell on ourselves. Well, I had to tell on myself that I didn't feel good and I pushed myself too hard. And there is yesterday I talked about pride. There's some pride there that I have to let go of and admit that I didn't do the right thing. Yeah, I wanted to get my nails done because I was tired of looking at my terrible looking nails, but it's not a priority. And I knew that when I did it, but I get really sick of not being able to do what I want to do. So, so I did it. And yeah, my nails got done. And yes, I got home safely, but I didn't feel good. And there is a potential that I could find myself not being able to get home. Or maybe, if I push myself too far, it's possible that I could get vertigo and just fall out. I haven't had that happen, but I do have little moments of it that tell me you did too much. And it's scary when it happens. And I think that because I've felt that quite a few times, then I haven't actually fallen over or anything that I'm like, oh, it's not going to kill me. And I just do it anyway. And that's not good. I'm not supposed to feel that way. So yesterday, when I was walking home, I had to soften my gaze because I felt so terrible. And when I soften my gaze, meaning I'm just kind of like, I look like a zombie, probably. If somebody were to look at me, they'd be like, what the hell is wrong with her? But I'm not really looking at anything. I'm just kind of being aware of my surroundings and knowing, like, I see the sidewalk in front of me and I'm just making sure that I'm on the sidewalk. And that's it. I'm not focused on anything. And this helps my head to not hurt as much. It makes I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it helps a little bit. So my goal was to just get home. So I softened my gaze. And when I did that, I immediately was more attentive to sounds. Just like they say, like people who lose one sense, the other ones get stronger. Well, it's like the world opened up from like a different dimension, if you will. And no, I'm not crazy. It was like I have relied so much on my vision over the years to actually shut down my vision to the point where I'm simply taking in enough information to keep me upright and to get me where I need to go. I'm taking in so much more with all my other senses. So I could hear, first of all, it was really silent. And it was really nice outside. And it was beautiful. And then I started hearing birds and they were talking to each other. I could hear them like, responding to each other. And I took a deep breath and then I hear my own deep breath, and it was unexpectedly serene at a time that I felt really terrible physically. And that moment of serenity, like that moment of being grateful, because that's what it was. It was a moment of being grateful that it reminded me that there's so much to be appreciated in stillness and in just being present and letting our senses take turns, not always relying on my vision. And I don't know, it reminded me that this summer I need to feel fulfilled sometimes by just sitting still. So easy does it. I need that to be a theme throughout the summer because I've already, and I think I've told you guys, I'm like, I'm going to try to kayak this year, My therapist looked at me like I was crazy when I said, I can just float down she didn't look at me like that was a good idea. I also was planning on going to see my mom, this weekend, and my husband didn't say anything, but I know that I can tell he thinks it's a bad idea for me to get in the car and ride for an hour. But he's not going to discourage me from doing something that I want to do. He's going to, he's not telling me what to do all the time. And I'm going to get frustrated probably if I'm always told that I can't do something that I want to do, But I'm not going now because it just didn't work out with us. But now, after I said I'm not going, we were talking about how it probably would have been not a good idea. And he shared that with me. And we were talking about all the appointments I have. I mean, I have so many appointments going on right now. I'm going to my vestibular therapy. I'm going to a chiropractor for my terrible back pain. And I'm going to my psychiatrist. I mean, that one's on Zoom on Wednesdays. And then I have the ENT appointment coming up next month or next week. And I have some testing coming up. So it's just a lot. And him and I were talking about how it's important that, we kind of agreed that I was going to have one goal a day, one thing that I wanted to accomplish each day. And sometimes with all these appointments, I have multiple appointments in one day. And that can be really difficult for my head and just everything. So anyway, I'm just kind of reminding myself of the importance of easy does it. And it empowers us when we focus on easy does it to be patient in physical therapy. And it also provides a mental and emotional recalibration as well. One really important piece of my recovery is this goal setting. And it's not just goal setting, it's setting realistic goals. And that's what I've been working with my psychiatrist about is she understands me now. I believe she's like, she knows that I just have a really difficult time slowing down. It's worse than I thought, honestly. I mean, I understood when I stopped drinking that I had a hard time slowing down. I honestly didn't know this about myself until I stopped drinking. And it's funny because I see it in my brother, and I didn't know I was like my brother until I started taking the drink away. And now I see I'm just like my brother, where I've got which isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing where there's ideas constantly in my head, new ideas, new ideas. So after my stroke, I was eager to get back to it, tackle everything like I always did. But over time, 2 years to be exact, I broke myself. I really, literally broke myself. I don't know what happened in there, but I broke something in there because I haven't been the same since then. I mean, I never really recovered, but I had this new level of migraine and dizziness and stuff that began to reveal itself. So I had the terrible physical setback, and it has landed me in long-term recovery. And I probably should have always been in long-term recovery, but I had to give it a go. I had to give it a go to go back to normal life, and it didn't work. So with my husband's support and a few repetitious nudges and suggestions by him, I have scaled back to these one goal per day. And now with my psychiatrist, we are having 2 goals per month. So I'm using the word goal for all of these. So within a month, I have 2 projects that I want to accomplish. And this month it was my summer romper, which if you follow me on Facebook, I posted the progress on that and I completed it. And then the other project is a quilt that I'm making, which is a surprise for somebody who I don't think listens to this, but I have to be careful. So, and that I'm hoping will be done this weekend. So those are my two goals. The one goal per day thing, that is more like, what is my activity for the day? So maybe it shouldn't be called a goal. It's an activity for the day. So each day I have one main activity that I want to accomplish. So, today I worked on my quilt, but, I also had a chiropractor appointment. So, typically we keep to having, like, my chiropractor appointment would be the activity for the day. And what I've been doing lately is starting to fit a bunch of stuff in again. I'm going to work on my quilt. I'm going to do my chiropractor appointment. Oh, I want to make sure that I, plant these seeds in my garden or whatever. Like I'm starting to not hold myself back again. And it's difficult for me. But I can tell as I've had these two goals this month that I actually finished one of the goals. And I don't think if I set those two goals that I would have finished that, because I was so much like I would told my mom today, it's like I was thrown into the deep end and I'm like just flailing my arms around. Like I don't know what to do. There's too much. I want to do everything. And I used to be able to do everything. And well, I felt like I could, but today, like, I can't. I just physically can't do as much as I used to do. So, setting goals and setting one activity per day has gradually helped me to find a greater purpose and maintain focus on the present moment without overwhelming myself. And I think that's what was happening before I made an appointment with a psychiatrist. I think I was just making myself crazy. I wanted to become something or be something or transition from a career woman to whatever it is that I'm going to be next, And I couldn't stand being in this purgatory, like this medium, like I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. That's the in the deep end, flailing my hands around. So another thing that I talked to my vestibular therapist about today, that I talked to my psychiatrist today about, is my vestibular therapy exercises and the extreme emotional reaction I had yesterday. And I think I shared that in yesterday's podcast, so forgive me if I didn't, but I'm pretty sure I did. So she was asking me, the psychiatrist, she's like, what would happen if you took some more time to settle down your emotions before you do these activities? And I said, well, that's what the vestibular therapist wants me to do, but I keep not doing that. Like, I just want to get the activity over with, like the exercise over with, and have it behind me and just let the symptoms go through me like ripping off a Band-Aid, like just do it. So what I talked to her about today was, maybe it will be better if I reframe my vestibular therapy exercises into like as meditative practices. So instead of dreading these activities and just anticipating the pain and discomfort, instead approaching them as a meditation. So before I get started, breathe, like start integrating deep breathing and positive thoughts, like picture something positive. Why am I not doing that? Instead, I'm like, okay, here we go. Move your head. This is terrible. I hate it. You know what I mean? Instead, take a deep breath. Picture myself out in nature or something like that, and then move my head. So I'm going to see what that might do for me. And maybe if nothing else, I will look forward to these sessions. And it might potentially reduce some of the symptoms that are triggered by the exercises if I can keep my stress level down. So I thought that that was really a positive discussion. And it's very much in line with this Easy Does It. So Easy Does It, it teaches us that slowing down can actually speed up our recovery. And that's what I've seen across the board. Sobriety, stroke recovery, vestibular therapy, mental health, all of this stuff. It's slowing down seems to be the answer because it allows us to heal at our own pace without additional stress, without comparing ourselves to others and not focusing on others' expectations, but instead just focusing on our needs and our capabilities in the moment. So whether you are recovering from alcoholism or you're working through physical rehabilitation, think about that walk that I had back from getting my nails did. Soften your gaze, like figuratively. Soften your gaze on what's ahead of you. And just take time to listen. Listen to what's going on around you and listen to what's going on inside of you. Take that time for yourself to heal and be kind to yourself. Because the world's not going to stop moving. It's up to us to stop moving. So that is a wrap for today. And I don't say this enough, but if you have found today's episode helpful and inspiring, please share the Recovery Daily podcast with everyone you know. And I would love to see the numbers increasing and we can build our community. I love it. I love it. It's so nice to have all of you, and I really appreciate you listening. And thanks for joining me today. I will talk to you tomorrow.